really is an example of the promise of this country and the best that we have to offer. He will be really missed. Chairman Maloney, Ranking Member Gibbs, members of the subcommittee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. It is an honor to appear before you and to serve on this panel with such distinguished witnesses. The views in this testimony are informed by the Commission's body of work. They are, however, my own and do not necessarily reflect the full U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission. Our commission was created by the Congress in 2000 as China acceded to the WTO to advise you on the national security implications of the U.S.-China economic relationship and to make recommendations to Congress on our findings. Our 2019 report is in press right now and will be released in November. The Commission first discussed China's Belt and Road Initiative in our 2015 annual report. Much has changed since then. The BRI is the signature foreign policy of General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party, Xi Jinping, and it has become a pillar of China's expanding presence on the global stage. Chinese leaders want to use BRI, of which the Maritime Silk Road is a critical component, to revise the global political and economic order to align with Chinese interests. In my testimony, I would like to situate China's Maritime Silk Road activities in the bigger economic picture, focusing on two key aspects: China's industrial policies for its shipping and shipbuilding industries, and China's investment in ports around the world. First, on China's industrial policies. Like other industries, the Chinese government has focused on and built. China's shipping and shipbuilding firms benefit from industrial policies to the detriment of U.S. companies. China's largest shipping and shipbuilding companies are all state-owned enterprises. A 2017 Harvard University study found evidence that China had significantly subsidized shipyard costs, leading to substantial misallocation of global production. Subsidies for Chinese shipbuilding SOEs have harmed the U.S. shipbuilding industry's ability to compete in the global market and have led to shipyard closings and a reduced U.S. vendor base over the past several decades. Second, to the very important issue of ports. China is the world's largest exporter and second largest importer, so its investment in ports helps facilitate China's global trade footprint. Today, at least 2/3 of the world's top 50 container ports are Chinese-owned or invested, up from about 1/5 almost a decade ago. China's investments include U.S. ports such as Los Angeles and Seattle, and 4 Chinese SOEs are among the world's leading port operators. Chinese control of ports can be used as a form of market creation through which China can leverage its port control to strengthen their economic relationships with certain countries. By owning and/or operating a network of logistical nodes across Asia, Europe, and Africa, China can control a significant portion of its inbound supply chain for essential commodities and outbound trade routes for its exports. In the event of conflict, China could use its control over these and other ports to hinder trade access to other countries. Additionally, Chinese port investment can translate into increased political leverage. Chinese investments in the port of Piraeus in Greece, for example, have influenced Athens' response to China's claims and activities in the South China Sea and human rights abuses, with Athens blocking an EU consensus in 2017 by refusing to endorse an EU statement critical of China's human rights records in the UN Human Rights Council. Finally, control of ports could also allow for economic and traditional espionage, as China can install surveillance equipment in ports to monitor foreign companies and U.S. military activity or that of our allies and partners. Mr. Chairman, you mentioned standards. A couple of other people have mentioned that. This is an issue that we think people really need to be paying more attention to. It's really critically important for the U.S. to participate actively in standard-setting bodies, including the IMO and the ISO. In the IMO, China is a 2018-2019 member of the Council, which is the 40-country body elected by the Assembly, and it serves as the executive body of the IMO. It also serves the Assembly's role between sessions of the Assembly, which generally meets once every 2 years. In the ISO, in addition to its leadership position on the Technical Committee on Ships and Maritime Technology, China is currently a member of the 20-member Council, which is the core governing body of the ISO. Membership on the Council rotates. The U.S. is also currently a member. In 2015 to 2017, the ISO president was from China. But within the ISO, the Technical Committee on Ships and Maritime Technology, ISO TC8, is responsible for the standardization of design, construction, structural elements, outfitting parts, equipments, method and technology, and marine environmental matters used in shipbuilding and the operation of ships, comprising seagoing ships, vessels for inland navigation, offshore structures, ship-to-shore interface, and all other marine structures subject to IMO requirements. ISO TC8's secretariat is China's Standardization Administration. I have been reading recently The Guns at Last Light, The War in Western Europe, 1944 to 1945, by Rick Atkinson, which describes the extensive level of logistics that went into preparing for D-Day. Our sailors, merchant marines, longshoremen, and factory workers, as well as our soldiers, were critical to that mission and to helping win the war. I hope that we never face a task like that again. But I worry that if we do, we no longer have the manufacturing capacity, the shipbuilding capacity, and the elements of the shipbuilding industry that would be necessary to meet the challenge. China has built its economy and its military power under the U.S. security umbrella. It is gaining long-term economic and strategic influence through subsidizing its shipping and shipbuilding industries and investing in overseas ports. We must develop and run a whole-of-government approach to addressing the challenges that it presents. In my written testimony, I have included a list of recommendations the Commission has previously made on maritime security, as well as a map illustrating the global scope of BRI and China's quest for influence. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and I look forward to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Bartholomew.